Hey everybody, it's Joey here with the Wild Geographer, and I'm just connecting with you guys today to go over some of the kit that I'm going to be bringing on my 7-day trip in Algonquin Park. You know, it's going to take us from Saturday until Saturday, and we're expecting rain this weekend, so it's going to be a little wet for the first couple days, so we'll probably end up packing a tarp or two, and there's probably going to be some equipment that isn't accounted for in this video that you'll see us use, but these are all the key ingredients to make your camping trip really, relatively successful. You can do a lot more with less, but for now I'm going out with a friend, so we're just, go and have a good time, catch a couple fish. In the future, I'll probably do more videos where I'm using less gear. Anyway, so I've got a lot of it laid out here. I'm going to start off with what I'm going to do with my food situation. And so my plan here is, I've got all my food packed. I dehydrated it myself. My cooking arrangement is this hand-me-down MSR pot set. It's pretty comprehensive. I've added some things to it, but basically it's 2 pots. I got my camp studs in here. This is my stove. I'll go into detail about that. I got a lighter. I got all my coffee filters in here. I've got 3 like cooking utensils, a spatula, a ladle, and a flipper. And this is my GSI coffee drip that I prefer to use. I've used a few methods over the years, but I find that the GSI drip is the best for me, just because I like drip coffee. So it's got 2 pots, a frying pan. They all nest nicely together and come with this little bag. And I've squeezed 2 rectangular yellow plates in there as well as a sponge pad for cleaning. So they fit in there quite nicely. And I'll go into detail about my stove here. It's called a Primus Crux, and I chose this one because it folds down into a nice little profile, and if you see, it can pivot and snap into the little stove form. You got your 3 prongs here. But another feature that I really was sold on for this stove is the flame base is a bit wider. It distributes the heat a little bit better. I think that is a feature worth spending the extra $1 on, although this wasn't really that expensive in the first place, but this stove was a no-brainer for me. And so that's what I use to cook. And along with that, I've got my fuel. Runs off of isopropane butane fuel mixture, and I keep it in this little army pouch. I'm bringing 3 canisters with me, 2 small ones and a larger one. I'm bringing 3 because one's brand new, this one here, and 2 of them are partially used. And I want to get rid of the ones that are partially used so I don't have a ton of half canisters laying around the house. Some people use stick stoves, and I have a liquid gas stove for my winter trips because the isopropane isn't that great in cold weather. But for summer trips and shoulder season, it's the best. Super convenient. That's why I go with it. In terms of filtering water, I've got an MSR micro filter that I'll be filling this water bladder with. That'll be for like base camp purposes, dinner, large quantities of drinking water. But while I'm in the daytime and canoeing around, I'm bringing this bee-free filter collapsible bottle. I just got this, never used it, but I've seen other people use it. I figured I'd give it a whirl, see how it works, and I'll let you guys know how I like it, or if I don't, I'm sure I will. Traditionally, I've only used the MSR filter. In addition to that, for cooking and eating, I've just got a little bag, leather pencil case filled with utensils. That's about it. Extra lighters, stuff like that. So now I'll move on to my electronics. I decided to start filming my own adventures, just so I could look back on them and share them with fellow campers who, might want to learn a tip, or, I might want to learn a tip from somebody else, like I have through watching the videos of the people that I follow. Obviously, you're watching me on my GoPro, which is a Hero Session. I've also got a number of other cameras, mainly GoPros. I have a GoPro 5 or 6 here that I'll be using also. I'm not a huge fan of the way GoPros look post-production, but it's something that I can afford at this time, so it's just going to have to be dealt with. Headlamps, this is for me and my buddy. Vital, I find you could do without, but why? It's just a couple ounces. Couple GoPro accessories. I like a camp light. This one's the Black Diamond. It can also work as a power bank. It's a wicked source of light. I also have a power bank. I'll be investing in more electronics as we move forward. And I keep them in this Osprey dry bag, just to alleviate any risks. And so obviously I have to keep them charged. And for that I use this Aki solar charger. I got this off Amazon, and I've brought it on numerous trips. It was cheap. I can't remember the price, but if you want I can figure that out. It hasn't failed me yet. You just set it up in front of the sun and charges all your devices. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a bank in it. That's why I have a power bank. So I'll charge the power bank on this, as well as something else. It's got 2 USB ports, and then the bank will be used to charge something later when there's no sun. In theory, that's how it's supposed to work. I have no complaints about it so far. It's been wet a couple times and I've never had any issues. Next up is preparing firewood. I have a CRKT tomahawk that I like to bring. It's very lightweight. This one needs a bit of a sharpen before we head out on Saturday, but it's lightweight, it does the job. It's not going to take down massive trees, but in Algonquin Park, that's not what you're going to do. So it'll help us collect a little bit of firewood here and there, break some branches off, and that's all we needed to do. I have an assortment of other axes, but they're just too heavy to justify carrying them in on a 7-day trip with a number of other luxurious items. My secondary cutting tool is the Sven saw. My fiance got this for me not too long ago. I brought it on a number of trips, and there have been a number of malfunctions that I'd like to note. I lost this nut, which holds the blade inside of the cross arm here. So that nut right there fell off. I lost it. The saw wasn't useless at that point, but I had to be very careful not to lose the screw. Otherwise I would have been up shit creek. It folds into itself. It's an extremely fast cutting saw. One of the drawbacks would be that you have limited space to cut. What I mean by that is you can only cut things that are about that big, because you're only reaching this far into the wood before you're hitting these beams. And so that kind of presents some limitation, but if you're not going into the woods to cut down full-size trees, this is just fine. And I've found that this blade is extremely productive. Another friend of mine has a Agua Canyon saw. I know that there's a number of blades that you can get for the Agua Canyon. The one that he has, I don't know if it's not sharp. It's not as fast as this saw, but you can cut bigger things with it. It's a little bit more versatile, quicker to put together, less parts to lose. So for the Sven saw, there's a number of drawbacks and some positive attributes as well. It's extremely light, small to pack. All in all, it's a good economic alternative. So next is going to be my sleeping system. I bought these Climate Static V pads. You'll see them in the video. They do a great job. I bought this one at the time, I think, for $89. It has very minimal R value, 1.3 R value, so it's like shoulder season summer sleeping pad, but it's extremely comfortable. It's got good width, good length, it's cheap, and I haven't had a problem with it. And so I really like this one. I was working at Sale at the time, and I did my research on a lot of different products before I bought any of them. I tested a lot of the products out when I was there. Did do a whole lot of work, but I learned a lot about all the different companies and the products that they have. This is going to be my pillow. It's a Canadian Tire brand, cheapo pillow. It does the job. I have another one from Sale, but I didn't really like it, and so that one is in the camping closet for good. I think I'll retire that one. Other than that, I think it's going to be pretty hot, so I'm just going to use a regular sleeping bag liner for my sleeping situation. I don't really want to bring a full-size sleeping bag, and if I'm not going to use this full-size sleeping bag, what's the point of bringing one? In addition to my sleeping situation, this is going to be my housing, the MSR Elixir 2-person tent. Relatively lightweight. It doesn't quite compare to its upgraded version, the Mother Hubba. That one's about a pound lighter, if I remember correctly. In terms of backpacking tents, it's relatively cheap. It's pretty lightweight, super simple to put up, quality product. I don't think that you can go wrong with MSR. They're kind of my go-to. I would suggest this tent for anybody who's getting into backcountry camping and needs a 2-person tent. I can fit myself, my fiance, and my husky inside this tent relatively comfortable. And as we're living in luxury, I'm bringing a tripod seat. I got this for, I think, $5. It wasn't off Amazon. It was off another company, Mountain Warehouse. I don't expect it to last very long, but if it lasts one trip, then I got my $5 out of it, right? It's not very environmentally friendly to buy and chuck away $5 camping items, but when you're on a budget, it does the trick. That's all you need. Speaking about budgets, this is my 75-liter Volt Osprey backpack. Packs a hell of a lot of gear in it, and it's probably their cheapest model for the size that it is. I've had this bag for 4 years now, 5 years now, and it's always been stand up, nothing but reliability. I think that's about it. Other than that, some safety items. You got your throw rope bag. I got that from Jim Baird. He straps his right behind him on his canoe. Obviously he does a lot of whitewater. I'm not particularly aiming for whitewater in this trip, but he straps it to the back of his canoe, and if he's going to go over, grabs the bag, and he doesn't lose his canoe. That seemed pretty straightforward to me, so I thought I'd adapt that into my procedure. I've also got my bug bag, my thermocell, which takes little pucks. Basically it's a hot plate that heats up a chemical and releases the chemical into the air that the mosquitoes don't like. It works great. I strap it onto the isopropane butane cylinders, and a puck will last for hours. And in addition to that, we've got our regular old Musco, 30% DEET, and some sunblock. All inside this seal-lined waterproof bag, drawstring water bag, and there's also some mesh head nets in there as well. We've got our first aid kit, essential for any time you're going out into the woods, even if it's a day trip. Some people might think that's excessive, but you know, you can never predict a first aid situation, and you always want to be ready, especially those of you who are first aid trained. I'm sure you know, you always want to be ready in case your assistance is required. And so I've got Advil, you know, gauze, tape, extra matches, afterbite, polysporin, alcohol wipes, triangle bandages. I've also got scissors, soap, a wash towel, medical tape. I've got toothpaste, cold and flu medicine, basically the works. I bought this standard first aid for 1 to 2 people, and I kind of beefed it up a bit with my own products. And I've been meaning to develop a first aid kit for my dog, because he's going to be coming on a lot of trips with me as well. You'll meet him in some of the next videos. I also keep on my first aid kit a Fox 40 blow whistle and a ferro rod, just in case I find myself in some precarious situation. I want to be ready for anything that the wilderness can throw at me. So besides that, I think that's everything. Like I said, there's going to be equipment that I didn't mention in this video that you're going to see me use on the tape, but I didn't want this video to go on forever because gear videos can be pretty boring. I'll leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed the gear video. I hope you guys tune into the camping video. If you have any questions about the gear that I use or that you see me use in the video, feel free to shoot me a direct message and I'll be sure to get back to you. In addition to that, if you have any tips for me, if you saw anything that you think that I could improve on, again, DM me, let me know, and I'll consider it, and I'll see if I can add it into my kit. None of my stuff is the highest of quality, but you know, like my dad says, we're not building bridges or watches or whatever he says. Anyway, that's it for me, the Wild Geographer. I'll see you on the trail.